Hi everyone. Welcome to my talk, African Africa Talk. Yay! I'm so excited. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for joining. My name is Aisha, and today I'm giving a talk about my career journey and transitioning between careers. This talk is titled "From Jupyter to the Cloud." About me, I based out of Toronto right now, but I'm Nigerian. I'm a cloud solutions engineer. I'm currently mostly focused on infrastructure as code, automating infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, um, with Python as an example. But I'm also mostly a generalist. And so from an architecture point of view, from a cloud architecture point of view, I focus on other things, even cloud security, PaaS and serverless type offerings. I started my Python journey on the website of things, yay, Django. Then transitioned into data science. Then I moved on to become a network engineer, and now I'm based on the cloud. I'm in the cloud. I'm on the cloudy side of things. PyCloud for short. I'm a very big fan of the community, Django girls, Py ladies, Python Nigeria community. And PyCons, I'm just like, yes, yes, yes to that. Yes, every time. My mantra is lifetime learner. I believe that I'm constantly growing, constantly learning, constantly unlearning and relearning. And part of my own drive for continuous improvement, you're constantly constant development and constantly improving. So I'm like a learner. Like I will never claim to know everything about one topic. Some might argue that I think that I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, but that's a different topic for another day. But yeah, that's literally my mantra. To be honest, lifetime learner. Like if you call me a learner, I won't take offense. Actually, a learner. I agree. I'm a learner. So we can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Aisha X Bello. My GitHub Shanti665, and I do co-host a podcast with one of my girlfriends titled Rogue on Learning. We do have a tech series on that podcast where we try to break down complex technical concepts. But now we are moving on to the crux of the matter, and today we are talking about moving careers. So I wanted to start off this talk talking about from a journey perspective, starting off to getting to that point where, it's always going to be a journey. It's never really going to end, but getting to that point where you feel like you've matured in your journey and you're more present and more conscious of what happens next. So who am I? I am African, not because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. Now, if you look at Africa as a construct, like not as a construct, as a whole continent, there are different countries from the north to the south to the east to the west. There are different countries, different cultures. Even within the countries, they could not be any more diverse in terms of like dialects and languages, the food type of food that one tribe eats versus the other, just the mannerisms, and in that diversity and even in that complexity, because human beings are complex. In that complexity, we are. It's beauty. It's literally the beauty of it all, right? It's like everything that makes Africa what it is. It's its people and it's its diversity in culture and in everything. So if we look at Africa as a country, and I know that I am Africa, and I know that personally, I like to know different things. Like I don't want to be put in a box. Like I want to be the boxes, like in many different boxes as much as possible, if that was even ever a construct that was possible. And I want to, I just don't want anyone to put me in a box because society will put you in a box. Everyone have expectation about who you should be, where you should aspire to. Like we have a popular saying, like if you grow up in an African home, there are three things that you should be, three career paths that you should follow. If you are not following any of the three, and you don't even know what you are doing with your life. So if you're not a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer, everything else you're wasting your time, wasting your energy, and wasting your space. African parents cannot relate; they cannot understand. So literally, as the whole society puts it in this box. So for me, in terms of like discovering myself on this career journey, it's almost like it's okay if I like multiple things. It's okay if I'm interested in multiple things, and if that one thing isn't where, oh, I'm learning Python. but I'm not sure I want to be a software developer. I can be something else. I can be anything else. I could be everything because Africa is everything. It's not one thing. Africa is everything. Like Africa is its people, and its people are complex. So just to, like, the idea regarding that is that you can have many career options, you can follow many different paths. It's okay if you don't do the one thing for the rest of your life. Some people get bored. Like, you're not abnormal, you're not, being liking, or will I say, being a jack of all trades is not abnormal. And sometimes it's not like you're a jack of all trades at one point in time. It's almost like over a period of time. After going through many different career options, you will term yourself as somebody who has been in many different options or different career paths, that you could think of yourself as a generalist, right? And so it depends on the journey, it depends on where you are in that journey. So I really like this photo. I got it from SA People on Africa Day, on their blog. 2016, back in the day, the titled "I am Africa and Africa is me," and there's a whole poem around it. If you want to check that out. um let's just, what if we look at things from a different angle where everything is connected? So yeah, I'm sure there are like technologists of this listening to this talk, and we're already familiar with neural network concept, and how an artificial neural network relates to the human neural network. Now, what if we look at things? Let's just try an analogy. I like analogies because I think that they help to drive the point home. What if we think of our careers or our jobs or our current roles as inputs, right? And in each of those career options that you decide to go into, you are learning different skills, right? You're learning different skills that are going to be the skills that are hidden. You're learning skills, you're learning different tools, and those are hidden. Those are processing on the inside. But guess what? Every skill and every tool has a different weight. But guess what? All of these things start to, so you're the skills that you amass, the different career options that you go through is all trying to lead you to a final place, because as human beings are constantly learning. Like, you could not be in any aspect of technology and say you get one knowledge and that's it. You constantly have to reinvent, you constantly have to learn. So what if we look at our experiences as layers, where, or layers or nodes, neurons, where we're all part of a bigger network, and where we're taking learnings from back propagations, and we're taking them and we're bringing them forward to get a desired output, right? So I like another analogy, and I hope this makes a bit of sense. Now, when people talk about these, when we look at these things, right, it's easy to just say, oh, you can do this, oh, you can do that, oh, anyone learning a language should be going through, this path. You're either a web developer, or a backend developer, it's almost like everything's cookie cutter, but we're not. Human beings are complex. Like, even within a family, like, and yet two different kids from the same parents, they couldn't be any more different, right? Even though they're brought up the same way. So I think, like, when we're looking at, our construct, or sorry, when we're looking at our journey as a whole, it's always, I like to think of things from a depth, breadth, or from a passion perspective. So you could classify depth as, someone who's going, in depth, like a specialist who becomes like, who develop really good expertise, and they just dive in and keep diving in and become, an expert, which is amazing, which is great. Or you can go a breadth option where this is what we call the generalist, right? Where they have an idea about many different things, and you find them probably in architectural type roles or product type roles, where they know a bit about everything and they can bring all of that. They could bring the diversity in their experiences and their career options to the table to give some sort of richer perspective versus just looking at things from a laser focused point of view. And then you find that people move careers just because they're passionate about something else, right? So I divide this into three different things. So it's either you want to be a specialist, or you want to be a generalist, or you pursue something completely different out of passion, which is also valid. So, but like, when we're trying to decide on which way to go, you want to start with your why. You always want to know know your why. It's okay to want more. It's okay to want what's best for you. But what is your why? Like, if you can sit down and define your why, is it passion that is driving you? Or are you so passionate, or are you so interested in a certain field that you'd rather go and deep dive into that field? Or do you like to, like me, do you like a bit of everything? Like, you want the buffet. You don't want the one course meal. You want the entire buffet. You want to be able to choose, bring your place. When you go to, like, there's some people in Nigeria will call O and Bear parties, where they have, like, different options. You can put a little bit of jollof rice, a little bit of amala, a little bit of veggie, like, just put everything, put fried rice, just put everything, and your plate is just looking colorful, and you're eating wonderfully, by the end of the day, your stomach might tell you something else. But you always want to start with your why. Like, you want to, like, why am I doing this, or why am I interested in doing this? And the why will be different for everybody. Like, you cannot use somebody else's why to define what you want or what your why is, right? And when you figure out, like, okay, when you decided what's your why, why am I doing this, or why I want to make this change, or why I want to move from here to here, you want to figure out your how. Your how could be a bunch of many things. How will be different. Your how could be as somebody's wow how could be as simple as switching departments within the same company, or taking on more responsibility. Another person's how might be completely overhauling what they're doing and completely moving ship to a different career part. Like, you want to figure out your how. Like, what is my selling point? Like, everybody has something unique that they bring to the table. Like, because at the end of the day, with even trying to figure out, like, who you should be, you are also trying to make sure that you are differentiating yourself from the crowd. So what are those extra things you bring to the table that many people don't already have? Like, that is your unique selling point, right? And once you figure out, like, your how, then you now, like, sit down and discover, okay, what are my transferable skills? Because guess what? No skill is wasted. Like, I went from going, trying to learn, do web with Django, then data science, and then going to completely, like, being a network engineer, like, on premises type infrastructure, where it's almost like, you wouldn't say it's unrelated, but it's almost like you can think of it that there are skills that are transferable from one place to another, no matter how minute. There might be different ways. If you go back to the neural network I saw earlier, different skills might have different weights, but it doesn't make it any less valuable. And it is transferable depending on where you're going to go. And again, like, I know we can speak all the English that we want, but money is important, right? Some of us have responsibilities. We have financial responsibilities and obligations. Some of us can afford. We don't. Some of us don't have that support system, because when people try to look at the richest people in the world, and you don't understand that some of them had a very good support system to be able to, bring that idea that they had that was crazy, that nobody believed in, right? They had the support system, but some people don't have the luxury of the support system and still have to support a family. So you also want to think about the financial implications, and this is going to be different for everybody. So if that means that you maybe have to plan 6 months ahead to sort of, like, save towards that time when you'll be transitioning careers, and just because for you to transition to a new career, you might not need to go back and take a junior role and working your way up to a senior role, or maybe you have to take an unpaid internship. So if you have to plan that, you also have to take that into cognizance. I'm not going to claim to be like an aspire to perspire to desire or acquire to wanting motivational type speaker. But these are the things that I've thought about in my own journey that I feel like they're very important, that people don't tend to look at, right? And it's okay to switch career just for the money. Like, oh, I decided to be a developer because they're well paid. Like, that is actually very valid as well, right? So just looking at going forward, looking at things from a depth, breadth, and a passion perspective, will sort of, like, help you, articulate and write down what your why is, like your plan. Like, your plan will include your why, your how. Like, I would not say your vision and your mission statement. Like, just something very practical and simple. Like, why am I doing this? How am I going to get to where I want to go? What are the skills that are transferable, and what are the financial implications? Like, if you get these key things, like, it's a lot easier to make that switch or to make that transition. Now, I want to give examples. I have 3 examples that I want to give of people who I know who have made the switch, to drive my point home. Just to give that idea that the journeys would be different. So meet Olawumi. Olawumi, was actually studied electrical engineering. But she went on and worked for Ericsson for like 13 years, and after that, I think for another 4 years, she worked for Andela, and she led. I think she was the people's manager. And she led a team of developers and product managers. And then this year she decided, you know what, I want to go and pursue my passion, right? And it's very valid because she's passionate about art, like, and so for her, in her own words, right, art is her first love. So even if she had to go through different engineering stages and software development stages, she still ended up finding her way back home. And guess what, her journey is not ended. We don't even know what to expect us from Olawumi. And so she says this is very profound that I really like if you read the entire thing, this is very profound. She said everything you truly seek is on the other side of your fear. The day you can get up to do what you love without monetary gratification being the key motivation is the day you have found true freedom. So you can reach out to me on Twitter. You can see she has amazing art pieces, like, and she tells me, like, we had like a very brief chat, and she said, like, definitely our skills, being in engineering and going into software development really helped her to become the talented fine artist that she is today. And because of that knowledge, she's able to, like, transition that to what she's currently doing. And she paints amazing pieces. You check it out on Instagram at Lawumi Arts. So the next one I want to say is my very good friend Lade. I knew Lade when he was still a software developer at Adela. And then he moved into product management. And to him, this was his why. Like, he became more interested in getting closer to users, and representing them in the products they build. That people who don't want to be on the back end, who want to be involved in the decision making on how the products go. And guess what? His experience as a software developer cannot be more valid in his current role as a product manager. So you can reach out to Lade as well if you have any questions about making that switch. Because everybody I'm giving here are, like, open to interactions, whether you're connecting to them on LinkedIn or on Twitter to ask them questions. If it's something you're also currently looking at, just know that you're not alone and you will not be the first. I've had another friend, Ola. She transitioned from software development and now she's in IT business. And for her, our why is that she made the switch to gain more skills in IT business and in all these new skills like audit, risk, compliance. My head is just going like, what? And now, it's helping her in her current goal as IT management. So it doesn't really matter where you start from. It matters. What really matters is actually the journey as much as the destination. So this is just another of my friend as well that has made that career transition. And so I wanted to bring it back home and talk about myself. Like, okay, what was my journey timeline? Like I said earlier, I started out like not just what my journey is, but also how I would say I've transferred relevant skills across board, literally, and how Python has been there with me in that journey, which is one of, how people say, oh, I came for the language but stayed for the community. Python is one of those languages that you can come and continue to stay for both the language and the community, because it's one of the the most widely used languages that is not just even specific to a domain. Like, you would be surprised the extent to which Python libraries exist and the ways in which Python is applied in different industries and in different, like, career options. So this is me giving you an example. When I started out my Python journey, with Django girls, learning Django. And that was like something that was like, oh wow, I had never known about Python. Like, this is so much easier than trying to hit my head on the wall and figure out C and Java. Like, yo, where you been all my life? And then I would say, but I still had an innate love for data science, because then I'd done a project where I was trying to use fuzzy logic and clustering algorithms to predict a criminal from a crime scene in the absence of, like, witnesses to the crime. So I was literally using characteristics like modus operandi, time and day, the crime was committed, using that to like a database of pre-existing like criminals, like offenders, and like the crimes that connected, and using that to predict in the absence of like an eyewitness, to predict who would be the likely criminal that committed that crime. Like I just loved how with data science I could almost like, it was like magic. I could predict the future and the possibilities were endless. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to focus on becoming a data specialist. And then I got my first job, post university as a data specialist for a company, and we did amazing projects trying to actually very practical, where I was working with like a power generating an electricity distribution company to discover the areas of geographic location that they covered, and to discover which places did not have meters. And we had this map. It was beautiful. I used Python data tools like pandas, bouquet for visualization, and to do that project. So it was very interesting. But guess what? In the heat of all that going on, I got poached, and I transitioned into networking. And I would say my motivating factor was not depth or breadth. It was no, sorry, it was not passion. It was money. It was a more lucrative deal that it was going to expose me to a different place, a different opportunity, and it was just better then. And it's also valid. And then I found out that Python was relevant. So I still think there are many tools that you can use in the networking space, called infrastructure space, like PyShark to analyze network packets. Sorry, I said PyShark. So analyze network packets. You have libraries like sockets, like not talk about requests, like requests you can use everywhere, but they're like libraries that are relevant, really, even in the infrastructure space. And so for me, I went from being a network engineer to getting into data centers, and now I'm in the cloud. I don't even know if PyCloud is a concept that actually exists, but if it doesn't, I'll call it PyCloud. We should probably start a movement. You guys, if you're just a cloud, hit me up. Maybe we should start a Python cloudy movement, something like that. PyCloud. I like the sound of PyCloud. So right now I do infrastructure as code, and Python has relevance, right? For example, in GCP, you can use Python to write templates to deploy, with YAML, to define what you want your infrastructure to look like, and to manage. And you can do version control and manage your infrastructure just via code without having to SSH and do all of those things. So there are many different aspects of the cloud. This is not even going into platform as a service or writing functions in Python for event-driven type responses. When you go to functions and serverless, like not talk of like the possibilities are just simply endless, and even in security. So regardless of where you go, Python is one of those languages that will stick with you to the very end. And for now, I don't know what's next. Like right now, I'm in cloud. I'm hoping to build more around cloud, and maybe diversify the different focus areas, because cloud is huge in many different aspects. So I don't know what's next. Who knows? And I'm very sure that Python will be following me on that journey. It's as relevant as it was. It's still relevant. Now, let's talk about how would you possibly proceed. So, giving you all of these previous examples and also talking a bit about my story, how would you say that you would like to proceed? So, these are just steps. Like this is just an example that anyone making the switch could say that these are examples, and it's different for everybody. You think about it as you're in a maze, and everybody would find their own path and go through their own journey. So it could be different for you. So maybe that next step for you looks like you need to take an online course. Maybe it means that you have to study for a certification if it's relevant. Maybe it means that you have to save money for the future, or maybe it means that you want to find a mentor or a coach to help and guide you. So charting a path is different for everyone, and the point I really want to drive home is that your part is going to be different. There's no one that's ever going to know you more than you know yourself. And so, as much as you try to listen to advice and listen to what's going on in the industry from this is the next big thing. Oh, this is the next big thing. It's almost like you need to decide for yourself, look inward and decide for yourself what it is that you want, right? And just because this is PyCon Africa, we cannot finish without giving you proverbs from the ancestors table. Amen. Yes. So if I look at if I look at like African proverbs, this is something that I thought was going to be interesting. So I'm going to round up my talk focusing on African proverbs to drive some of my points home. So I'm going to use I try to use my Nigerian accent. There are many roads that leads to the market. Who has ever heard this one before? So it's almost like there is a market, but there are different roads. I could be going to, I live in Missouri, so I could go into Square One, but I could take like Dundas, I could take Confederation Parkway, but I can. At the end of the day, we all arrive at the market. It's not a race. There's no competition. As long as you arrive at the market, that's what eventually, like as long as you are on the right path and you're on the journey and you arrive at the market, that's what really matters. Not everyone having to take the same road. So there are many roads that leads to the market. So whether you decide to be a musician or you're a developer turned artist, just know that there are many roads that leads to the market, and the market is specific to you because whichever path you take, however long, bent or narrow the road is, as long as you find your way to the market, the real story is in the journey and in your learnings along the way, right? So to thy own self, be true, and sometimes it's not always like immediately apparent, and you might have to go through different roads and take a few wrong turns. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of growth, it's a lot of learning, no knowledge is wasted. And that's what I wanted to say. The next one is, if you listen to the voice, no, let me say that. If you listen to the voice of people in the market, you won't buy. I'll say that again. If you listen to the voice of people in the market, you won't buy. This is talking about the noise, right? There's always a next big thing. There's always the latest library or the latest tool that you should learn. And sometimes you can end up being in a never ending loop of learning new libraries and new tools and never really getting to implement them, right? Or actively use them. So one of the things, that I'd like to add here is saying that it's okay to decide what you want, study the market, right? Because you want to know where you want to go, which is your market. Like what is the things that you want. No, let me put it differently. Like if you decide on your destination, right? It's okay to listen to your destination market to decide what is relevant, what are the skills relevant, right? Like what are the things that are required for that field for you to know. But at the same time, it's also good to not listen to everybody because everybody will say, come and buy, come and buy, come and buy. If you ever go to, Yaba market, for example, everybody will try to pull you, come and buy from me, come and buy from me, come and buy. But if you know the store you're going to where you want to buy, just head there and avoid the noise of the people in the market. If not, by the time everybody's pulling you left, right, center, eventually, getting to the market would be a much more daunting task, right? And the third one, by crawling, a child learns to stand. By the way, all of these are African proverbs. I cannot put it there, but all of these are African proverbs. African proverbs. We just know that these are things our parents and our grandparents said. We don't really know the originator, like who the actual author is, right? But by crawling, a child learns to stand. So if you think about this, right, it's okay if you seek out internships, right? If you seek out, if you have to go and start from scratch, like if you're moving careers differently and you have to start from a junior role, it's okay because guess what? By crawling, you learn to stand, and when you stand, you run, and in running, you eventually fly and you soar like an eagle. So I just felt like that. That felt good, right? You just add that there. Huh, so this one is very popular. We have a Nigerian actor called Pete Edochie that likes to sit down. Pete Edochie is an actor in Nollywood. And he likes to say this a lot. He said, "What an old man sees sitting down, a young man cannot see standing up. Even if he climbs to the top of the Iroko tree, he will not see it. He will not see it." Like, so this is just saying, like, if we think about mentorships and sponsorship, like this cannot be overemphasized. In every journey, it's always very important that you look, so you know where you want to go. You look for somebody who is already there that could probably give you advice on how to get there, like you who's already at that destination that you're aiming to get to, and could mentor or coach you on how to get there. So this cannot be overemphasized, because guess what? People who are already in the field where you want to go have this industry knowledge that isn't always apparent when you read blogs or you watch your videos. It's, they kind of like know what's going on, and they know where the industry is going, and they're able to advise appropriately. And the final one, it is from a small seed that the giant Iroko tree has its beginning. And this is just to say, even if you're contributing to open source, and this is how you start your software journey, and you contribute to open source, maybe it's documentation, or in any way, shape, or form, or just contributing to the community. Guess what? It is, even if it's one semicolon, it is from that semicolon you go to changing and sorry, updating and adding more in terms of like contributions, right? So it's okay to have humble beginnings and grow from there. So thank you so much for coming to my talk. A bit on time or a bit out of time. If you have time for questions, I'll take questions. If not, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, at Aisha X Bello, Aisha X Bello, and on my podcast again is Rogue on Learning on Twitter and Instagram as well. And I'm on GitHub at Shante665. If you have time, let me know and take some questions. Thank you.